Hello and welcome. This is AlchemistExe, and I am just showcasing the end of the score challenge quest. I wanted to do that because this level is tuned very specifically for Tina Link, who is the brand new unit, another protagonist. Basically, 1 month has gone by since the last one, and now we've got another one. I'm going to talk more about that at the end of the video while I'm doing some summoning. But overall, I'm not very thrilled with the pacing that it's been going. I feel like a lot of stuff is being rushed. I wish they spaced it out a little bit, maybe alternated between sacred stones, that kind of thing. It makes me a little concerned for the future, but not like huge alarm bells. And it diminishes from the fact that Tina is a really good unit. Like, there's no denying that. Being really dodgy is often very helpful. Anybody with unlimited skill use is always going to be good. It's one of the reasons that I use Dios, because he basically turns his normal attack into a skill you can use an unlimited number of times, and you just get a lot of mileage out of that. I do have some concerns with evasion units, just because, generally speaking, there is going to be a strong counter to her eventually, and I don't think I'm going to like whatever that is, just as far as tuning goes. It might be a unit that I want to pull on depending on where my gems are. And then secondly, I wanted to say that even with all of the disadvantages in the level, it's still totally clearable with Dios. It's kind of weird to see him never critting, given that that's like his thing. But the thing about Dios is that his modifiers are so high that he still does a lot of damage even when he doesn't crit. And just the fact that he can infinitely give himself alchemic overload, very handy. Overall, I found this party to be I had the most fun clearing it this way, just because I'm doing all of the things that it doesn't want me to do. But looking at the clear data, it wasn't as diverse as I would like. Of course, it's made for Tina. It's made to advertise her, so that you're going to expect that. Of course, Edgar has a lot of the same advantages being a ranged unit. So you pair him with somebody like a Nanji with like damage mitigation, that kind of thing. You will be in a very good spot. When I clicked the button, though, that is only show clears with units that I own, there was 4 results total. They're almost all fire teams. So I decided to do this instead. Unfortunately, because I was recording, I totally forgot to actually add it to the clear data. So consider this my clear data. It wasn't amazing score challenge, like score wise. It was like 11k, something like that. But just being able to clear it was kind of fun. Just a reminder of how much I freaking love Dios as a unit. Just, he is almost always my go-to unit, and this is going to be why. So next up, I want to showcase an actual instance of Tina fighting. I'll have her alongside my freshly usable Ainz Link, and I'll talk a little bit more about her kit and some things that make her pretty cool. All right, we'll let this dude explode from alchemic overload and then move on to that. Okay, so main thing about Tina is she is a high wind missile attacker, and she is very dodgy, as I mentioned earlier. So what she can do is, aside from being able to hit things from really far away, she can also do map-wide debuff, which burns health, which for her is a good thing, because when she's below 50% health, she can get some extra buffs that way. And she can also restore her health and put her into like an alchemy state that just makes her even stronger. And then if you look on the database, which there'll be a link in the description, as always, whenever a new unit comes out, you're going to see a lot of fun effects on her skills. A lot of ignoring reactions. You can see some guts down on one of her vision abilities. Ignoring cover, that kind of thing. She's the kind of unit that her power creep is a lot more feature creep than just raw numbers. Of course, with the right scenario, you get Leafa, you get Smire, you get the right kind of people, you can definitely buff her to get very high damage. But overall, rather than being someone who just does stupidly high damage with minimal effort, what she's going to do is be more of a unit who just kind of does a whole bunch of things at the same time, as far as being your role consolidation for being a damage dealer and a debuffer. And she'll just have an easier time getting to clear maps by way of going around certain mechanics. And then there's definitely something of a PvP slant to her. Of course, she's going to be very good in PvE. Also, she could even be a soloer that maybe not quite on the level of Tierfing Link, but definitely up there as far as the kind of unit that will have an easier time breezing through almost any kind of content, really, until they start making enemies that do 100% hit, ignore all reactions to attack. She's gonna be good. Okay, let's move on to the banners. Okay, let's start with the main event, which is the Tina Link unit banner. This is the memento that's going to get you the unit. 20-step pity, like always. So definitely with Taga Pay and all that, it is still fairly expensive and very expensive if you want to get the other memento, but definitely not bad. If you are looking for wind DPS, then she's definitely going to help you a lot. The only real issue that I have is that there have been a lot of wind units lately. Though the unit I'm working on the most right now is Link, who is the exact same thing, high wind element. So for me, that makes it less appealing. But if you're in a space where wind is your biggest need, then she could definitely be a very, very good option. And then her secondary memento has some really nice perks to it too, especially if you're planning on using her in PvP. But in general, it also gives buff +1 on a duration +1 on max limit break. It's got a vision ability that on defeating an enemy gives any wind or light units in the party a missile attack boost and a speed boost. And then she can also become immune to debuffs until she eats one attack. So given that she's dodgy, that might last longer than one attack. So overall, I would definitely want to get this memento if you're going to use Tina. But if you don't have enough gems, don't worry about it right now. It'll become available via more inclusive banners over time. Just to share a little personal experience, I did not get Dios's second memento when he first launched. It took a little while to get it, but by the time I was in a spot where there was a very gem efficient way to guarantee it, I already had pulled it just from a random 55 5-star banner anyway. So, and even if I'd had to go another month without it, it wouldn't have been too big of a deal, just because generally speaking, the Link protagonists are just good enough at their base, just them and the memento they come with, that they will still help you out quite a bit, especially if you were experiencing a lacking in the element that they represent. So aside from Tina related stuff, Logi is also having his rerun, but you should keep in mind that Logi's memento will show up in other banners like memento pickups or the 55 5-star, that kind of thing, because he has been around long enough. So as far as reruns to look out for, I wouldn't consider paying full price for him. Edgar, on the other hand, still needs a little bit of time before he starts showing up in that, but at this point, I think it's better just to wait. And then, of course, his secondary memento also is rerunning. I kind of wish they would just put them together on one 9-step, but I guess they don't want to give you the ability to have too good of a experience within 9 steps. And then other than that, there is one other noteworthy banner that, especially because Taga Pay is currently in session, if you're looking to raise one of these units, then this could be a very, very good experience, assuming that you're not going to go for Tina, because it's probably too big of a gem sink otherwise. But given that Taga Pay will take 20% off, and then you'll also get a decent amount back from the gem spent bonus, doing that to gain 1,000 coins for unit shards, and then a 270 enlightenment shard selector for one of these units, very, very good. If you don't have a maxed out Lindrake, Phineas, Ananji, or Nimble, those enlightenment shards will really, really help you. With the Link units, with Seda and Ainz, it's a little bit trickier because that selector is not really going to help you much directly, because they're going to get their gates from the unit that they link with. But enlightenment shards aren't useless exactly. You can put them into HP and then refund them if you ever need them for anything else. You can also use them to roll for stats that you want in the Pride rune, but I would really only recommend doing that if you're totally good on the other 4, and also if you have some kind of plan for the coins. Like, I'm going to do it because I want to get more shards of Ainz. I have him up and running now, but there's still quite a ways away for having him max limit broken, and I really, really like him and his kit, so he's one that I want to get up and running as soon as I can, and this banner is going to help me do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as banners go for this week. It's pretty much Tina stuff, a Logi rerun I don't really recommend just because of the age of the banner, and then a really, really good 7-step, assuming that you stand to benefit from it. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and do some summoning. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I think I'm going to start out with just my main concern. Might have to interrupt myself depending on the result of the summon. And then hopefully I can move on to a little bit more positive subject matter, like plans for my account and maybe just talking about coin shops in general because I love them so much. But yeah, my main thing is just what is going to happen after the main story is done, because we're getting very, very close. You know, unless they add more acts than what a story mode chapter typically has, which typically the limit there is going to be 5. Unless they add more than that, then we're all wrapping up Act 4, so 5 most likely is going to be the final one, and there just hasn't been any indication of plans for once the main story is done. Now, they haven't said that that's the only thing that they're going to do either, so it is up in the air. It's possible that they don't even know yet, but because development takes time, if they wanted to say, hey, we want to do this new thing, you know, they have to make it, they have to make the artwork for it, they have to secure the voice actors that they use for the characters. Sometimes they get fairly high profile people to do it. One thing that gives me a little hope is that in the producer's letter, they mentioned that they were going to enhance the movie related units because the 5-year anniversary from when the Tagatame movie came out, that's going to happen in the middle of the month. So doing something like that they just don't need to do, that is kind of a nice thing. I don't think that they're going to actually make any really new content for it. I think it's just going to be some stat bumps. But what I'd really like to see, though, is something that is either Genesis or Ancient Story style. Something with either boss battles or more complex stages that has its own story that introduces new characters. Anything like that, even if it wasn't a serialized thing, if it was just something more along the lines of Babel Chronicles. Not Babel Chronicles itself, though. I actually hate that gameplay mode. I don't like force setup stuff very much, unless if clearing it is all you have to do, then I'm fine with it. But like, if it has a bunch of missions and you're just kind of required to brute force it, I don't find that very fun. I like to have options more than that. But what I mean by like Babel Chronicles, I mean in terms of sequences of stories that have a specific focus. Like, they are a little bit related to one another as you go from Envily to Wrath, and they have common threads, but really they're focused on their specific regions. We didn't even get every single region, so there's a lot of avenues that certainly could be explored. But to give me real, like, solid confidence that the game is going to last for a while longer, I would definitely want to see something like that, something that we can rely on once the main story is over. Now, there's other possibilities, of course, too, because none of this is based on any real hard evidence. I'm just speculating, going by the experience that I had in Global and then the year and a half that I've had playing the Japanese version, kind of seeing how they handle content, what kind of doors they close, what kind of doors they open. And it definitely, just from the time that I've been playing, it does feel lighter. Good day for Wind. There's both a duplicate of Smire and a duplicate of Dark Nyx, and for Smire, that's the end of her gates. 100 was just about where I was to get her final stuff. I got the important ones already, and now if I have enough Enlightenment shards for Nyx, then that might be his gate 7 right there. So while it hasn't been crazy, at this point, the only result that could make me like really crazy excited would be either a dupe of Ainslink or Ouroboros as a unit. Other than that, I'm mostly pretty good as far as that goes, because you can't get Kudenstein, Mikaboshi, or Sumeragi on this one. Anyway, I almost lost my train of thought there, but I definitely want more content, or if they are going to keep it to like boss battle quests and these score kind of quests, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing more of them. That Ainz duplicate helped me out quite a bit too, because I did not have enough shards of him to get all of his gates maxed. And so this will get me really, really close. I should be done by the end of the week, given that we have 2x EX quests. So not especially rare of a limited unit, but that was honestly one of the most helpful things that could have happened. You know what? That's all I really have to say about being concerned about the state of the game. But I just want to reassure everyone that regardless of what happens, even if it starts to kind of suck, I will cover this game for as long as it exists in terms of making content. If they ever cross that point where they announce end of service and they don't make anything new, I will probably stop covering it because there wouldn't be a point. I just wait until it ends and then make some kind of retrospective, and then we're finally done with this IP, presumably forever, unless they make a sequel, which I would definitely be down with. If they make something that is like analogous to Aster Tardicus, but for this IP, I'm all about it. Doubly so if it got global, but nonetheless, no matter what language it's in, I'm there. Okay, so I want to talk about coins, because you get 1,100 of them, assuming that you do all this, you get the gem spent bonus. Luckily, it also gives the coins, so that is a lot. 1,000 is going to get you 100 shards of a unit if you go all in, but I don't tend to like to do that. If there's enough units that 25 shards is good, then I'll usually just do that. And then I'll usually end up with a number that's less than 125, and then just divide them up based on really specific needs. But you can definitely make a case for 50 shards, because it's 200, so 325 coins for 50 shards is just so much better than 1,000 for 100. And especially in cases of units like Ainz, where just having 50 goes a long way, because that's, it's literally months. If the soul port is your only source of getting shards for them, that's huge. So definitely 50 is a good break point, especially because you can sometimes be in a spot where you are like how I am with Ophinius, where I need about 50 to get him maxed out. And so like I don't want to use a 270 selector for him, because that's just overkill. He doesn't need the HP that badly, or the random rolls that badly. And so the opportunity cost might be 25 shards of another Link unit, but once a unit's maxed, then that's, a burden off of your shoulders and more stats for them. So I can definitely make a case for 50 shards per unit, and that is a good place to stop, because we're at the end of the summons. So if you're summoning, I wish you good luck, especially if you're getting Tina, and I will see you all next time.